Mark and I were terrified, and when we finally came to our senses, I went over to check on the boy. He was already dead. I collapsed to the ground in shock. At that moment, the boy's father came rushing over. The father broke down and picked up his son's lifeless body. He grabbed the hunting rifle from the ground and pointed it straight at me. I panicked and frantically tried to explain that it was an accident. The distraught father didn't want to hear my excuses. He wanted a life for a life. The next second, the father was shot down. It turned out my friend Mark had seen me being threatened and fired a shot from a distance. Mark dragged the body to a hidden spot, and then we drove away from the scene. We rode in complete silence until Mark finally pulled the car over to the side of the road. He got his hunting rifle from the trunk and headed toward the woods. I suggested that Mark and I should turn ourselves in, but Mark refused to take responsibility. Originally, this whole mess had nothing to do with him. That's when Mark realized that the gun I used to accidentally kill the boy was registered under his name. This kind of behavior was illegal, so Mark was now forced into this situation too. His killing of the boy's father was really an act of desperation. Mark had no intention of running away. If we just fled, it would be like admitting our guilt. Besides, this place was surrounded by trees with no witnesses around, so he planned to keep pretending we were hunting, and when it got late at night, we'd return to the scene to bury the bodies. Once we handled everything, we could leave this place. I thought it over for a while and decided to go along with Mark's plan. The two of us drove back to the scene, under cover of darkness. We decided to dig a deep pit in the woods and bury both bodies in it. Early the next morning, we got up and prepared to flee. However, as soon as Mark stepped outside, he saw a group of locals surrounding us. The car tires had been slashed by someone named John. When Mark went over to confront him, John punched him in the nose. It turned out that on Mark's first day in town, he had gotten involved with John's daughter and even given her some illegal substances. The locals figured out what the conflict was about and immediately stopped both sides. We rented a car and went to the local tavern, but unexpectedly ran into John there. He came over and mocked Mark, then suddenly grabbed Mark's nose. After John got his revenge, he immediately ran off. Mark could only resign himself to treating his wound. When he came back, he heard everyone discussing how Logan's brother-in-law and nephew had gone camping in the woods yesterday. They were supposed to return last night, but they still hadn't come back today. That's when we realized that the man we killed yesterday was the town's administrator, Logan's brother-in-law and nephew.
When Mark returned to the room, I shared my concerns with him. A boy had seen us burying the bodies, and if he told the adults, we would definitely get caught. I wanted to confess everything, but Mark disagreed. If we admitted it, we'd definitely be killed by the townspeople. Suddenly, a knock at the door interrupted us. I opened it to find locals inviting us to a bonfire party. At the gathering, I felt something was off. Logan realized that his brother-in-law and nephew might have met with trouble, so he organized the townspeople to search the woods. Everyone started looking together, and we couldn't refuse to join them. We had no choice but to follow in our repaired car.